being in a conflict zone, we have bigger issues as far as civil liberties are concerned, political rights are concerned, human rights are concerned. I mean, the fact is that most of my colleagues are still in jail since the last 5, 6, 7 years. The whole concept of justice has a huge question mark over it, and the fact that the way in the Supreme Court dealt the judgment on Article 370, there was also a very a very in a sense that people felt that we have been betrayed by the commitments which were constitutional commitments. I mean, one questions today that uh, all those commitments India has made to the people of Jammu and Kashmir, the leadership has made over the last 50, 60 years. I mean, do they mean nothing at all? I mean, because the way in which all those commitments were trampled upon by this present dispensation in New Delhi, and I'm sorry to say that the Supreme Court also completely overlooked all the elements of that commitment which the Indian state had done to the people of Jammu and Kashmir, to the leadership of Jammu and Kashmir, the constitutional guarantees. So I think that is something which the people are quite wary about, and that is what pinches us most. Is that yes, the problem remains. Whether you call it political, whether you call it human dimension. I mean, it has all aspects of a dispute, of an issue. So the issue is very much there, and I don't think by scrapping Article 370, the international aspect of the Kashmir issue is not getting anywhere. It's not going anywhere. In fact, I believe that the government of India has more internationalized it, because the fact is now that by taking away Ladakh portion, now the Chinese are there in Galwan and other areas. They have taken more territory. So now China is also directly or indirectly involved in this bigger dispute as well. So I think that our point of view is very clear that at the end of the day, the Indian leadership and the Kashmiri leadership have to move together, find a lasting solution. Since 1947 till date, hundreds and thousands of people have died. We believe that we need a fair closure to this problem, and that is only possible once we start talking with each other. But sadly, that scenario is not present right now.
Welcome to In Conversation. I'm Anuradha Bhasin. Our guest today comes from one of the most important and respected families of Kashmir. He carries the legacy of being the religious and spiritual leader of Kashmir. Mirwaiz Umar Farooq is both a religious leader and a social leader. He is also a political leader and leads the Hurriyat Conference. Mirwaiz Sahab, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me, Anuradha ji.
So in the last 5 years, you've spent more time under house arrest. Your movement has been restricted. You've been prevented from meeting people, even sometimes prevented from addressing the Friday sermons at the Jamia Masjid. Can you speak to the ordeal that you have faced in these last 5 years? And probably looking back, what could you could have done, or a role you could have played if those movements did not exist, the restrictions did not exist, sorry.
Well, of course, I mean, the last 5 years have been quite difficult, not only for myself, but I think for the entire people of Jammu and Kashmir. I was confined to my house and not able to go out, not able to meet people. But at the same time, I think even for the common man in Kashmir, these 5 years were not easy. I mean, it was a situation of political turmoil. I mean, people felt humiliated after the decisions of 2019, 5th August. So there was a lot of disappointment, which was in everybody's minds and hearts. And of course, because I was confined to my house, and obviously no one would like to lose its freedom and lose a liberty. It was a difficult period. I mean, the most difficult part was that I was not able to go to the Jamia Masjid and speak to the people and be a part of them in those difficult times, because this that was a time when I mean, this happened all of a sudden, as you all remember, how 5th August 2019, happened, and how everybody was that the troops are moving. People were thinking in terms of maybe something is happening on the LOC, and all the tourists and the yatris were pulled out. So I remember my last tweet, which I had done on 4th of August, where I had said to the people that this is a time we have to all brace together. Whatever will happen, we have to be together, and we'll have to gather strength to face it, because we have faced difficult things in the past as well. So that was the time, the last 4 or 5 years, especially from 2019 to 2023. This was the time when I felt that being away from the Jamia Masjid, and not being able to be with my people, not being able to offer prayers at the Jamia Mosque, not being able to address the people. I was 16 years old when my father was martyred, and I had to take over the mantle of the Mirwaiz. So, even at that times, as a young man, I mean, I had hardly done any religious education, but being at the pulpit, meant a lot to my people and a lot to the community. So I'm sure, as I missed my people, they did too in the last 5 years. So it was a difficult time, and people would, come to the mosque, feel spiritually satisfied, and also because the Jamia Mosque is not only a place of religious importance and spiritual importance, it has been a strong advocate of people's rights, whether political, social, religious. And we saw that, first, it was closed down for a long period of time. Prayers were not allowed in the Jamia Masjid for a long time. So that was also very painful for me and for the people who have been associated with the mosque. So it was a difficult time, and I mean, it was very little I could do. I mean, the fact that I was confined, I was not allowed to talk to people, even when after 2 3 months, communication restrictions were lifted. I was not allowed to talk to the media. I was not allowed to talk to my party people. So it was a difficult time. It was a difficult time for me personally, but I had to be strong, and I had to be content with the situation. I mean, I'm a firm believer that whatever happens is from Allah, and you have to be strong, and you have to be committed to whatever you believe, the values you believe, you cherish them, and you have to uphold those values, whatever be the situation.
What kind of despair have you found in Kashmir now that you've been meeting some people? What are people's expectations? Is it regarding development? Is it regarding civil liberties? Is it regarding political rights? What are their major expectations?
I think, to be honest enough, as a community, yes, in terms of day-to-day problems, every society, every community, every state has to face those. And we have regular problems of unemployment and bijli and sadak and pani and other issues. Those are issues. Those are there. They are there. But I think the most important aspect of the last 4 5 years has been that there's a sense of anger and sense of humiliation the people of Kashmir have felt, and they feel that they have been deprived of of their identity. See, I think the basic issue of today is not, although you now have an elected government, and yes, one can debate that whatever limited powers they have, but I think the people are more concerned about the issue of political identity as a nation of Jammu and Kashmir. Where do we stand today? We have been deprived of our identity. The fact that our state has been broken. One part of the state has been taken away. We have been reduced to a union territory. Our powers have been taken away. So there is a lot of anger among the people, and that anger was quite evident in the elections this time, for example, which happened in Jammu and Kashmir. I think especially in Kashmir, the verdict was a replica of the anger which was there on the streets of Jammu and Kashmir. And everybody felt that, that yes, we have problems, day-to-day problems, and of course, being in a conflict zone, we have bigger issues as far as civil liberties are concerned, political rights are concerned, human rights are concerned. I mean, the fact is that most of my colleagues are still in jail since the last 5, 6, 7 years. The whole concept of justice has a huge question mark over it, and the fact that the way in the Supreme Court dealt the judgment on Article 370, that was also a very, a very, in a sense that people felt that we have been betrayed by the commitments which were constitutional commitments. I mean, one questions today that uh, all those commitments India has made to the people of Jammu and Kashmir, the leadership has made over the last 50, 60 years. I mean, do they mean nothing at all? I mean, because the way in which all those commitments were trampled upon by this present dispensation in New Delhi, and I'm sorry to say that the Supreme Court also did completely overlooked all the elements of that commitment which the Indian state had done to the people of Jammu and Kashmir, the leadership of Jammu and Kashmir, the constitutional guarantees. So I think that is something which the people are quite wary about, and that is what pinches us most. Is that yes, bijli, pani, employment, better roads, better lifestyle is something everybody aspires for, but we as a community, as a nation, because we have been living in a conflict, I mean, the question mark is still very much there, whether BJP likes it or not. The bigger question is still very much there. And now I think relationship between New Delhi and Srinagar is again, is at its lowest ebb, I would say.
And which is why you are speaking again and again, and in recent months, you've been talked about the need to restore lasting peace in Jammu and Kashmir. You've called for dialogue, asking both India and Pakistan to resume an engagement process. Can you elaborate a little about your vision, and how has this been received, especially by the governments in India and Pakistan, and by the people?
Well, I think it's very clear that the dispensation in Delhi is not much happy with what we have to say and what I say at the Jamia Masjid, or whenever, whatever little interaction I have with the media. Because as you might be aware, the fact is that our point of view is still not carried in the mainstream media as far as
Mhm.
Kashmir is concerned. Even the vernacular press, which is in Urdu, has been told to categorically boycott the political statements which we give as Hurriyat, or I as give as a Mirwaiz. Yes, you will find space for my religious, statements, for my social statements, but our political point of view is not given much space. And it's very clear that what is happening with the media in Kashmir. It's very much controlled. It's very much like a government-sponsored media. But whatever be the case, because see, we believe, when the Hurriyat Conference was formed in 1993, you see the militancy and violence was it at its peak. And even at that juncture, we were of the view that at the end of the day, the issue is going to be addressed on the table. And that is why, Hurriyat, did, sort of, while we talked about UN resolutions, while we talked about engagement between parties, we also talked about an alternative negotiated settlement on Jammu and Kashmir, which later transformed into one of the ideas when General Musharraf and Vajpayee and Manmohan Singh Sahab, everybody got together. So that was also a possibility we were working with at that time. So I think that our vision is very clear, and through your medium, let me make it absolutely clear again. You see, as long as there is a part of Kashmir which is with India, and there's a part of Kashmir which is with Pakistan, the problem remains. Whether you call it political, whether you call it human dimension. I mean, it has all aspects of a dispute, of an issue. So the issue is very much there, and I don't think by scrapping Article 370, the international aspect of the Kashmir issue is not getting anywhere, it's not going anywhere. In fact, I believe that the government of India has more internationalized it, because the fact is now that by taking away Ladakh portion, now the Chinese are in there in Galwan and other areas, they have taken more territory. So now China is also directly or indirectly involved in this bigger dispute as well. So I think that our point of view is very clear, that at the end of the day, the Indian leadership and the Kashmiri leadership have to move together, find a lasting solution to this problem. Because see, generations have now been lost in this conflict. And one cannot completely close eyes to this reality, to the reality, that the fact that since 1947 till date, hundreds and thousands of people have died. We believe that we need a fair closure to this problem, and that is only possible once we start talking with each other. But sadly, that scenario is not present right now. I mean, we already seeing that India Pakistan relations are also, I mean, at a level where not much is happening. So as far as we are concerned, as an individual, as a Mirwaiz, as a religious head, or as the head of the Hurriyat conference, I believe that the legacy which was left over by my father, by my grandfather, is something which I believe in. That it is a human problem. It's a human issue. We need to put an end to this issue. And I mean, what else can define it best? For the fact that just 3 weeks back, we lost a member, of my family, who was the
Mhm.
eldest member of the Mirwaiz family, because of the legacy of the partition. I mean, half of my family had to go to Pakistan and Muzaffarabad, and that is the case with so many hundreds and thousands of families. So I think we couldn't meet even at this juncture, which was a situation for the family to come together. I mean, it's very sad that given the situation, we are so apart. And in today's world, when where communication is so easy, this this
I,
this
I
this
get I get your
human
point.
dimension.
You're raising a very important issue and a very important challenge, and saying that whatever steps have been taken, the changes that have been made, the problem has not gone away and is not going to go away, and that there is need to address it. Do you think that the present governments in India and Pakistan, looking at what Pakistan is going through its own crisis. There are parallel centers of power. In India, you have a Hindu right-wing government. Do you think these governments can carry through the promises that have been made in the last 70 years?
I mean, to be honest enough, I think if you look at the BJP, it's quite strange that, we believe that the best breakthrough we had vis-a-vis Kashmir was during the time of the BJP when Mr. Vajpayee was in power.
Mhm.
And I think, Mr. Vajpayee and his team at that juncture, I mean, we had reached an understanding that, we have to address the internal as well as the external aspect of the problem. And he did. I mean, tried to do his bit. He went to Lahore. He came to Kashmir. He started a process of dialogue. Even at that time, when parties like the Hurriyat and others were of the view that we want to engage, but let us engage in a dialogue which is not which is unconditional. So it was Vajpayee who came with the concept of insaniyat, jamhuriyat, Kashmiriyat, and he said, let us start talking. And I remember even his musings when he wrote in Kerala, if I remember correctly. He said that we have to look forward, and we have to do away with this baggage of partition, and we have to look at the road ahead. So I think there were many possibilities which we could have explored in terms of how to move forward, whether it was Musharraf's 4-point formula, whether it was other views and suggestions. But sadly, once that era had gone now, and now with the BJP government and especially Mr. Modi in power, we were quite hopeful when he came to power in 2014 that he would sort of revisit that approach. But unfortunately, we have seen that Delhi has been more like their approach has been more like aggressive approach towards Kashmir. We saw after Burhan Wani, this agitation, what happened 2016, 2017 was when the crackdown happened and when the Hurriyat leaders were arrested. And then, of course, the Pulwama thing happened. And then, we saw in the last 4 or 5 years, many of our constituents have been banned. Most of the leadership is in jail. So, in that sense, one one feels that perhaps New Delhi is still not realizing that they need to talk with the people in Kashmir, they need to engage with the people in Kashmir. Yes, in terms of Pakistan, one could agree that their situation is politically quite fluid there. But I believe that at the end of the day, Pakistan is a state. Once some movement forward would have happened, I'm sure that we could have worked around it. But primarily, I think there even vis-a-vis New Delhi Srinagar track, not much has happened over the past 5 6 years. In fact, we have seen more and more aggressive posturing and steps being taken by New Delhi in terms of disempowering people more and more. And that is what we are seeing even today, after even these elections have been held now.
You recently criticized the Chhattisgarh Wakf Board directive, giving sermons to clerics that their sermons should be vetted. Being a Kashmiri, why do you think it's important to talk about it?
So I think it's important to understand that there are two dimensions to this problem. One is that as far as the Waqf Amendment is concerned, we believe that it is a direct interference in the laws of Sharia. Waqf is a property which is a gift, which has to be used by the Muslim community for the betterment of the community. And I believe that it is a trust, which the Waqf is a trust of the people. I believe the direct involvement of the government in this is with a design where they want, because see, most of the properties which have been donated by the people to the Waqf, I don't think many have papers which land papers. I mean, they are 400 500 years old properties. So by we believe that the way things are developing in India today, sadly, most of the administrative powers which are given to the DCs and others, we believe that those rights will be taken away by the DCs. It will be declared as a government land because they have no papers, and Waqf will lose its relevance. That is something very important. Secondly, Waqf, all the imams, all the khatibs, which give their sermons, which give their lectures, they have to dwell upon what is happening around them, whether it's social issues, whether it's political issues, whether it's economic issues. That is what the khutbah of the Jummah is. The Jummah khutbah is not just asking the God for forgiveness and only addressing the religious part. You have to talk about the community. You have to talk about the issues which are being dealt with the community. So it's very clear that the Chhattisgarh directive is a clear indication that the government wants to control the narrative of what the imams, what the khatibs, what the people who speak at the members of the mosque want to say, so that it's a directive which will come from the government directly. So this is completely unacceptable, in the
And you
sense
feel
that
the Chhattisgarh experiment could be
it
extended
could
to
be, because see,
Kashmir,
the
and
fact that there are so many amendments which they want to bring to the Waqf Act,
Mhm.
which clearly overrule the mandate which the government doesn't have over Waqf. This, as I said, this is a property of the Muslims, and it has to be secured by the Muslims. Yes, you can have certain amendments, maybe where you try to give representation to women also in the Waqf. But these are, see, I mean, like, for example, tomorrow you have Hindu temples which are guided by certain guidelines. We cannot say that, okay, we want to be part of that, and I mean, nobody would allow that. So why is the government wanting to intervene or interfere in the affairs of the Muslim community, which they are well capable of dealing with themselves? So I believe it's a direct interference in the Sharia law, in the Sharia, which is unacceptable to the Muslims of India, and as well as the Muslims of Jammu and Kashmir.
Hello, I'm Anuradha Bhasin, the managing editor of the Kashmir Times, which is now available in a digital format. we bring you in-depth coverage and news analysis to combat the erasure of Jammu, Kashmir and Ladakh. For this, we need your support. Join us in our fight. Become a member today by paying an amount of your choice. Also subscribe to our YouTube news channel and our newsletter for free. Thank you.
That of Naya Kashmir, that everybody is happy, everybody is content, there is nobody's talking, nobody's saying anything. So the fact is that voices have been stifled. That is the fact. In the last 5 years, look at the situation of the media in Jammu and Kashmir. Is media allowed to even write a human rights article? Not to talk about political editorials, not to talk about human rights issues, not to talk about the fact that you have not hundreds but thousands of Kashmiris are languishing in jails since 2019 who have been arrested. I'm not in power politics. I'm not in a politics of interest. I'm in the politics of the people. As a Mirwaiz, I believe that it is my mansabi zimmedari. It is my responsibility of the pulpit that I have to speak truth to power. And if they want our youth to have a better future, a brighter future. But the fact is that the conflict is there, families are divided, people have suffered. Even for that matter, you see, the question of Kashmiri Pandits. Our family, has had very close relationship with the Kashmiri Pandit families. Our Kashmiri Pandit brethren, that is also a human dimension of the problem. We need to get them back, and it is the people who will get them back. The government is not, in a sense, whatever plans they have, whatever incentives they might give them houses, they might give them lands, but it is the love, the respect and the mutual trust we have to bring back. And that is where, as the community, we have to come, the people of Jammu, the people of Kashmir. And I think, you see, I believe that the people of Jammu also have a lot of responsibility in terms of we should not be divided on communal and on regional lines. We need to come together as a community. We need to come together as
let's move away from politics for a while. The institution of Mirwaiz is something unique to Kashmir. What is the significance of this post, and what role has it played so far in the region for years?
So I think the institution of the Mirwaiz signifies, the overall aspects of society in terms of, what is our society. You see, Islam as such does not distinguish between politics and religion and society and economics. In a sense, Islam believes in a complete way of life, a complete guidance where in terms of you have to give a direction to the community in terms of what is best in their interests. If you look at the history of the Mirwaiz institution, right from the day when Islam came to Kashmir through Shah Hamadan, is not only religion but also crafts and trades and our handicrafts, our shawl industry, our carpet industry. It is a lot of stamp of Central Asia. It developed in Jammu and Kashmir. So did slowly and gradually institution of the Mirwaiz, and we came to the south of Kashmir first in Tral, where we stayed for around more than 50-60 years. Then from Tral, south of Kashmir, we came to Srinagar, and then since the last 250 years, the institution has been trying to, deliver not only primarily, of course, in religious guidance, but of course, in education, in social issues, in political guidance. Even early as the late 17th century, 18th century, when there was no concept of education, Islamia High School was the first school which was built by the Mirwaiz at that time, because only there were madrasas, Arabic madrasas, Persian madrasas at that time. And Islamia School in 1896, it started education, giving comprehensive education to the Muslim society in Jammu and Kashmir. And at that time, there was a concept or a misconcept that if you study English, if you study science, you are moving away from Islamic values, will become Christians, all those things, because the society was very, very illiterate at that time. It was a Mirwaiz at that time when, he initiated the school, he initiated, we had a network of schools around the city, then in South Kashmir, then in North Kashmir. So, it grew from a small madrasa to a school to a college. Now we have other institutions as well. But sadly, those institutions also suffered because of a political, political stand from time to time. So even religious guidance, which was there from the pulpit of the Jamia Mosque, was always about, unity, because Jamia Masjid, is probably the only big institution we have here where we have no, schools of thought, a particular school of thought where we address every school of thought, whether you are Barelvi, you are Sunni, you are Shia, you are, Deobandi, you are, Ahle Hadith. Every school of thought is welcome at the mosque. It's a show of unity of the Muslims of Jammu and Kashmir, and that is what the Mirwaiz institution has tried to upheld in the last 200 250 years, as far as the history is concerned. But also in terms of education, social reforms is something, which is something which the institution has always believed in. For example, since I have been free since the last 1 year, I've been trying to give, khutbas on nikah, on marriages, trying to make it simple, trying to make it more accommodative in terms of, as far as that issue is concerned. We have started a campaign on drug de-addiction also. So these are many aspects that there. So, I mean, of course, as a society, you have the challenges. Sadly, because of the last 5 years, I have not been able to move out much. But I do plan to, sort of engage myself in these activities, whether it's social, whether it is religious, and of course, political aspect is there. As I said, that there is a stand which we have taken. I believe firmly as a principle that what stand we have taken is there, and we will continue to pursue that peacefully, as far as our approach is concerned.
You talked about the Mirwais playing a central role in the Jamia Masjid. I mean, you generally lead, you're the preacher, but you do not lead the prayers. And this tradition is very different from what Jamia Masjids elsewhere in India or in South Asia have. So, how and why is this different? Can you tell us more about it?
Well, I think the Mirwaiz is basically, see, it's a Mirwaiz is a Persian term. It's two words, Mir and Wise. Mir means head, and Wise means the preacher. So the Mirwaiz is the head preacher of the main mosque, or or of Kashmir. So in that sense, our more focused has been on giving the message of Islam, the talking about the society, talking about Islamic teachings, more on preachings. Then you have different segments. For example, then there's also a segment which is the Mufti, which deals with the jurisprudence aspect of Islam, where they give fatwa. So Mirwaiz is not a Mufti. I'm not a Mufti. I don't give fatwa, but we have a team which is there. Then we have a team of imams who lead the prayers. So like we have the Jamia Masjid, the imam who leads the prayer is called Imam Hai. He is the main imam of the mosque who leads the prayers. So I give the khutbah, I give the sermon, which is mostly mostly it used to be in Persian first, a combination of Kashmiri and Persian and Arabic, because Persian was the official language until the time of the Maharaja. So I still a lot of Persian is still a part of my preaching experience, and then we have Kashmiri into it, of Sheikh ul Alam, his teachings, his preachings. So it's a combination of Kashmiri, Arabic, and Farsi. And then of course you have the political aspect. The Mirwaiz talks about the happenings of the week, what has happened, whether politically, socially, or in terms of society. So so this is a trend, like this has been for the last so many generations. Like I'm the 13th Mirwaiz.
You also
So
talked about
this is,
the, yeah, sorry.
yeah,
You talked
yeah.
about the political the political discourse within the Jama Masjid. You talked about religious, social, other issues, and also politics. And you often see, in Kashmir, most religious places, how have they transformed also into political platforms? And it's not just the Jamia Masjid. It is, though said, Jamia Masjid is the bastion of the Mirwaiz, as Hazrat Bal is for National Conference. How and why did religious places in Kashmir also become political platforms?
See, I think as far as religious places are concerned, because see, in terms of the fact that, as I said, that I mean, as far as Islam is concerned, we don't distinguish between politics, religion, and other aspects of society. Because as a Muslim, you are supposed to be quite conscious and quite wary and quite ready to be a part of a movement which is aimed at addressing different aspects of society. I mean, in a sense that you can't say that, okay, politics is not my issue here, and I'll only talk about religion, I'll only talk about society. I mean, politics is a very important ingredient of our society. I mean, we cannot be away from the politics of what's happening in Kashmir. And because of the conflict of Jammu and Kashmir, in terms of our history, our culture, I mean, during 1930s, when the first political party was formed by my great grandfather Mirwaiz Yusuf Shah, the Muslim Conference. In fact, it was the Mirwaiz at that time, when he introduced Sheikh Abdullah to the people, that here is an upcoming person, who was introduced to the people at the Jamia Masjid. So in that sense, obviously then he broke away from the Muslim Conference and he formed National Conference in 35, and then I mean, that's all part of history. But then, because religion was always a very important aspect of Kashmir society. People were quite religiously aware in terms of the fact that, even like, for example, the agitation of 13th July 1931, which is one of the key agitations in Jammu and Kashmir, which we say is the birth of the Kashmiri freedom struggle. Was something which changed the dynamics of Kashmir politics. Since then we have seen religious places being, whether it was the Khanka Mohalla at that time, whether it was the Jamia Masjid, and after that, when Sheikh Saab came into power, he used the pulpit of the Hazrat Bal Mosque. So I think all these, mostly, in fact, Jamia Masjid and Hazrat Bal have been the two main political centers of Kashmir politics. So in that sense, religion uh, is a very important aspect of the society as such. So in that sense, we don't distinguish between politics and, because see, I mean, as a Mirwaiz, we believe that our politics is based on certain values. As a Mirwaiz, I'm not in power politics. I'm not in a politics of interest. I'm in the politics of the people. As a Mirwaiz, I believe that it is my mansabi zimmedari. It is my responsibility of the pulpit, that I have to speak truth to power. And I mean, if they might not like it, but that is the truth. That is my responsibility, and I speak truth, whether it's New Delhi, whether it's the people power in Kashmir, or whether it's in our region. So that is why the pulpit of the Jamia Mosque, has been targeted, to be honest enough. I mean, the fact is that even in the last 5 years, not a single prayer has been missed in Hazrat Bal. Not a single prayer has been missed in Khankai Mohalla. But it is the Jamia Masjid where Ramzan was not allowed, where Eid was not allowed, where Fridays were barred. For a period of, I mean, I have all the data. I mean, for dozens of Fridays, people were barred from entering the mosque just because they fear that the voice of the people would be heard in Jamia Masjid. See, the fact is that New Delhi has created an impression that, of Naya Kashmir, that everybody is happy, everybody is content, there is nobody's talking, nobody's saying anything. So the fact is that that, I mean, voices have been stifled. That is the fact. In the last 5 years, I mean, look at the situation of the media in Jammu and Kashmir. Is media allowed to even write a human rights article? Not to talk about political editorials, not to talk about, human rights issues, not to talk about. I mean, the fact that, you have not hundreds but thousands of Kashmiris are languishing in jails since 2019 who have been arrested. Nobody's talking about them. If I
Mhm.
tweet, my tweet is not carried by the media papers. My press note is not carried by the media people. You will hardly hear the name of the people who are in jails, in the media, because the media has been asked to completely, black out those names. So I think, this is something, see, people are gauging everything. People are people of Jammu and Kashmir are very conscious of the fact that what is happening around them. I think they are conscious of the fact that this is a time where New Delhi is trying to create a false narrative. They are scared. I mean, people are not speaking. Even imams of the mosque. They even on the issue of Palestine. For example, forget about everything.
Mhm.
Even on the issue of Palestine, the imams are being told not to pray, not to make
And,
dua for the people of
And that's
Palestine.
very, I may interrupt you there. And that's very different because Kashmir has had a history where, anything happening in Palestine, there would be outrage in Kashmir. And this is the only time that we find for a year there's been a problem in Palestine. Uh, People are facing the brunt of genocide. And you do not see voices in Kashmir. So how deep does that fear go of speaking
It
out?
is. See, the problem here is that, now people are very, very cautious about saying anything, whether it's social media, whether it's on their Twitters, on their WhatsApps, on their other things, even in a majlis, in a gathering of nikah, or in a gathering of this marriage or a death gathering, people are very, very quiet because they believe that if they say something, a situation has been created that, okay, they'll be targeted. I mean, the fact that government employees are being targeted, the fact that so many have been dismissed from their services, they're attaching properties of people who have crossed over to the borders. They have taken those properties away. In the fact that, there are so many cases against, or these young boys who are in jails. There's an element of fear among the people that, if they talk, in the evening, the police might come in. If security agencies might bother them. Believe me, there's a situation today, because as I was telling you about, like the human aspect. Most of I mean, many families are divided there in Pakistan.
Mhm.
People are even scared to talk to them on WhatsApp or on other calls or even emails, because the moment they see a Pakistan number, they fear they will be targeted. So I think this is something which I don't know. I mean, I don't think New Delhi. See, maybe it is helping the BJP narrative, whatever narrative they want to give to the people in India. But I think the idea of India is losing badly in Kashmir. I mean, it has I think people are questioning the fact that the way in which we have been dealt over the past 5 years. I mean, as I said, there's a sense of frustration, there's a sense of anger, there's a sense of alienation, and I'm sorry to say there is also a sense of hate vis-a-vis, as far as what is happening in Kashmir and what is happening in terms of how people are being dealt with on the ground.
Okay, one last question. How would you best describe yourself? A religious leader or a political leader? And what role do you think you can or you ought to play in Kashmir? Uh,
See, I think I see myself as the Mirwaiz. I think that the title of the Mirwaiz, encompasses everything, in a sense that I am, I belong to the people. The responsibility of the Mirwais, when I go to the pulpit, it's my responsibility. We say in Islamic terms that an imam who goes to the pulpit is the representative of the Prophet, is a representative of the Prophet Muhammad. He has to be true to himself. He has to say what he believes is right, whether it's religion, whether it's society, whether it's politics. And I think, whatever we have been saying for the past so many years, since I think, I was 16 at that time when my father was martyred. I had just
Mhm.
passed my high school. I had my own ambitions. I wanted to be a computer engineer. I was into technology. I was into that. I had my own ambitions. But I think, I was put in a situation where I felt initially, that it has been thrust upon me. But then I saw, the love of the people, the appreciation that I got. I was a kid of 16, 17. I saw people,
I may interrupt. I met you first time in the early 90s. You were just out of school. And there you were talking about religion and politics, and you went on and on. And I said, "Oh, this young man should have been probably playing football in the field."
Well, that
That.
was not to be the case. But I think, see, as a midwife, I think it's my responsibility to talk about everything, because I have to talk about whether it's my society, my religion, my youth, my government. I mean, these are topics which, as an imam or as a midwife, you have to talk about them. I mean, I live in a conflict. I have been brought up in a conflict. I've lost my father. I have lost my uncle. I have lost my youth to whole, and these are hundreds and thousands of people are like me. So in a sense that who relate to the problem, who relate to the conflict. So I don't think that by one stroke of pen, New Delhi believes that they have undone everything, and now everything is back to square one, and we have completely sort of solved the Kashmir issue, and there's no issue. See, as I said, that as long as Kashmir is divided with India, with Pakistan, the Kashmir issue remains. Whether New Delhi likes it or not, today, tomorrow, the issue has to be put at the table. Yes, I'm saying it very, very openly. Even in Jamia Masjid, I'm saying it. Yes, we don't want our youth to get consumed by violence. We don't want them to take up arms. We don't want our youth to be cannon fodder for the conflict. But yes, we want our youth to have a better future, a brighter future. But the fact is that the conflict is there, families are divided, people have suffered. I mean, even for that matter, you see, the question of Kashmiri Pandits, our family, has had very close relationship with the Kashmiri Pandit families. Our Kashmiri Pandit brethren, that is also a human dimension of the problem.
Mhm.
We need to get them back, and it is the people who will get them back. The government is not, in a sense, whatever plans they have, whatever incentives they might give them houses, they might give them lands, but it is the love, the respect, and the mutual trust we have to bring back. And that is where, as a community, we have to come. The people of Jammu, the people of Kashmir, and I think, you see, I believe that the people of Jammu also have a lot of responsibility in terms of we should not be divided, on communal and on regional lines. We need to come together as a community. We need
So
to come together as a state.
how do you think these divides between communities can be bridged, whether it's the Muslims and the Pandits or Jammu and Kashmir, other different ethnicities? It is Jammu Kashmir is so um, uh, plural and diverse. How would you build bridges?
I
And
think it's I think it's more important that we have to reach out. I mean, I think there has to be more people to people, contact.
Mhm.
I mean, the sad part in today's Kashmir is that, see, that the civil society is all dead, and there's nobody there, and people are scared to talk about, even issues which are non-political. Everybody is scared that their passport will be taken away, their travel benefits will be taken away. In a sense that people right now are very, very, aloof from all these activities. We need to get people into it. I mean, our civil society, our media, our thinkers, our writers. I mean, they have to come together. I mean, in a sense that Jammu, Kashmir, even for that matter, okay, fine, geographically, they might have taken Kargil and Ladakh away from us, but the fact is that we are connected through a history of hundreds of years. I mean, Kargil, Ladakh, Skardu, the other part of Kashmir, Gilgit, Baltistan. I mean, it is, I mean, it's so sad to see that, in today's world, when we talk about communication revolution, borders getting irrelevant, people coming together, communities getting together, we are still, divided, families are divided, people are divided. We had this, at least some solace was there when this bus service was there, when the trade was going on there. Even that was stopped. Everything has been taken away. So I think somewhere as a community we have to come together and look at the benefits of this. It was not only the Srinagar Muzaffarabad bus which was benefiting families. In Jammu also, we were looking forward, Jammu Sialkot, Jammu, other areas, Poonch,
The
Rajouri,
trade, they would
even
have
that area.
benefited.
I think somewhere, everything, we need to get that debate back on, in a sense that we need to start talking about it. And I know I am talking whenever I get the opportunity. We are talking about these things, and I will continue to talk about religion, politics, society. Whether people in Delhi like it or not, but I'll be talking about these things.
Wishing you the very best with that.
Thank
And
you.
let's hope there's peace in Kashmir and rest of South Asia. Thank you for
Thank you.
joining us.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.